Game's up, Creed. We're here to put an end to your plague.
You led the X-Men here. You deserve to suffer for your mistake.
You can't talk to me that way. I am your leader.
Apocalypse!
You dare to claim dominion over me?
A mutant.
I am as beyond them as they are beyond you.
I am eternal.
Don't you wish you were a Superman? Take off to the sky. Or don't you wish you were a Superman? Against oppression we rise.
Cool Geeks Tribunal, eternal, forever. Yeah, we here back in the building. Y'all know what time it is. Let's go. Disney Plus 2021. Yo, dropped a whole slate of shows to come out. We got Echo. Got to dig into that, see what that's about. We got She-Hulk. They gave the rundown of everything that already came out this year, what's about to drop, and Hawkeye. We have Spider-Man. It's not year one, it's freshman year. But I think that, and then there's a few others. But the one that we know everybody's probably the most hyped about, because this is our first time dealing with the X-Men in the MCU. Marvel Zombies, Secret Invasion, all of that. I'm with it. Let's do it. Secret Invasion, great book. Marvel Zombies, great book. We already saw an introduction to them. We already knew that the Skrulls were in town. But real talk, it's really about the X-Men. So, X-Men 97. Reboot, continuation, modern day version of the 1992 classic X-Men animated series. And I believe that ran for about 5 years. I went from like 92 to 97. So, if you were around back then, if you had the pleasure of being around and watching it when it first dropped, you knew when you heard that music, come on. I'm probably not saying it right, but it got you hyped. They featured all the X-Men in the intro, Wolverine with his claws. He spread it out, and then it was like electric. You had Cyclops shooting. We had Sentinels coming down. We had Beast jumping all over the place. We had Gambit jumping out with the deck of cards, throwing those out, blowing everything up. Rogue was coming through, flying around. Storm, Jean Grey, ended off Professor X. You see the clash of all of the villains come running head on against all of the X-Men. So that was live. It was a great time to be a kid. Top cartoon of all time. The only other cartoon was coming from the other company on the other side of town, which was the Batman animated series. But those were the two cartoons that I think would probably go down in history as the best cartoons or animation. So, with the X-Men, came out Fox Kids, October 31st, 1992. So, what was going on before that? In 1989, they had made an attempt to come out with the X-Men, the Pride of the X-Men, which was dealing a lot with Kitty Pryde, who was one of the younger X-Men, and she had the ability to phase through walls and just make herself very transparent, I guess, however, you would phrase that. But anyway, she was able to phase through walls and all of that. And Wolverine actually had an Australian accent. Colossus in there. And as a real little kid, I really enjoyed that one. And then I was like, it was cool. I was excited. I'm like, yo, this is the X-Men. Wolverine, Colossus was my favorite at the time because I wasn't really reading the books yet. But I was just into the look of them and in the cartoons, because you had Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man and his friends. Oh, no, Spider-Man, his amazing friends. You had the Incredible Hulk. You had Plastic Man and all of those guys, Super Friends. So if you look at superhero team up cartoons and animation back then, Super Friends was really what it was. Now, I enjoyed it. You know, you're young. You're not necessarily looking for a lot of depth. It's just very easy to follow. The bad guys show up. You're just happy to see your favorite characters on TV. You had Batman, the Wonder Twins, Robin, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and the Invisible Plane, all of that. Great, great stuff, but very, very simplistic in the Hall of Justice. That ran from about somewhere in the mid to late 70s, and then it went into the 80s, and it stopped. By the time the 90s come around, there's a little bit more depth. Stories got a little darker. They got a little bit more serious. So when you saw your favorite guys hop off of the comic books and look like how they did in the comic books, as we have displayed right here, the Jim Lee run of X-Men, X-Men #1, X-Men, they had all of the blue costumes, the blue and yellow. That was their theme. That was their thing. If you know Jim Lee's art, you know how serious he was and nice with the pen he is. The detail, the storytelling, the seriousness of how they brought back Magneto. It was all conveyed from off the books right onto your TV screen. So you go from reading these books, now you're looking at it, and while you're watching them, you're like critiquing it, and you're so excited that they're getting it so right. And it didn't just convey from the look of it. It was like visually great. But what was really, really, really good about it was it captured the tone. They got the voices right. Wolverine, on point. Shout out to that voice actor. We had same for the Beast. Cyclops, on point. Jubilee, the heart of the X-Men. You know, and then there's also Storm as the heart of the X-Men. Even in her melodramatic ways of let there be storm and let there be lightning and bringing the winds and the gale forces and all of these things that she's talking about to, you know, get her powers going and stop the bad guy, because she always got to give a speech about it before she get busy. It was great. They nailed it. But there was so much depth to it, and there was so many layers to the show as well, that you got lessons. You had it was like an entire series of like one to grow on. They touched on many, many, many heavy topics. When Nightcrawler got introduced, they went into the Bible. They dealt with Christian themes, Judeo-Christian themes.
My appearance does not make it easy.
Don't it make you crazy?
It did once, but then I found peace by devoting my life to God. He directed me to this place where they value the character of my heart, not my appearance.
A lot of socially conscious things, like the Friends of Humanity, when they were hating on all of the mutants, they were basically the Ku Klux Klan.
What the heck? Destroy all mutants? With the Friends of Humanity, who needs enemies?
We don't want mutant lovers in our town, so we're moving you out. Get out!
What's the premise of the X-Men? The X-Men were inspired, Jim Lee was inspired by the Civil Rights Movement. And Professor X, there's your Martin Luther King. Magneto, your Malcolm X. Now, the mutants are divided. You have some that want to integrate with the rest of humanity. You have some that are like, no, we don't need that. If we're more superior to them, and if they're going to mistreat us and don't have any respect for us, they don't appreciate us, then we don't need to be bothered with them. They're vastly outnumbered, so they definitely are representative of minority groups. The X-Men, I look at them like, you have those, if that's your inspiration, and you have the Professor X, the X-Men, and they're the crew that's supposed to be trying to integrate. Okay, fine. Some people feel like that's the way to go. You have others, again, if it's based on the civil rights movement, so then you have others that would be rolling with Magneto. And if he's the Malcolm X character, how could he be vilified for not wanting to get with his oppressor? If someone treated you badly, would you want to hang with them? Maybe not. If when you try to get your own and they came and constantly took from you and lied on you and did everything to undermine all of your efforts just to exist, would you want to hang with them? So there goes the question of, is Magneto truly a villain? The cartoon dealt with all of it. Very heavy. They didn't shy away from it, which was great. And that's what made this show have so much staying power, to where now when you have a Disney Plus day and they're letting you know that they're finally acknowledging the X-Men and X-Men 97, which is again a reboot to the 92. Now what happens is we have to ask some questions. If the X-Men were originally influenced by the civil rights movement, are they still going to touch on many of the subjects that plague the people that the civil rights movement was made it necessary? Your so-called black people that were out here, your African Americans like that are out here, like the things that we have had to deal with from the inception of this nation to current present day. Are they still going to be represented to some degree, within the cartoon and just dealing with the minorities? Are they going to try to go into other minority groups and tackle some issues and make some semblance of their plight and their struggles through the X-Men? They had many heavy shows, a few that I mentioned, a few of the antagonists that I mentioned within the show. We had all of our supervillains and everything like usual. Outside of your Magnetos, you had your Mr. Sinisters that made an appearance. You had Juggernaut that made an appearance. So you had the family dynamic between he and Professor X and how that went with the stepbrother and, coming into the family jealousy and things like that. That's pretty common. But there was a two-part series or episodes in season 2, 7 and 8 that I found to be really, really interesting. They were called Fugitive of Time Fugitives. Let me get it right. It's Time Fugitives. So in this episode, it was interpreted in the past that it was inspired by events of a plague that was going on that was about 9 to 10 years in at the time of the show coming out. Well, probably about 11. Anyway, they likened it to, some people viewed it as AIDS because they dealt with a virus. There was a virus going around and it was plaguing people, and they tried to blame it on the mutants. And there was a need for mutants from the future. Bishop, we had Cable. They felt the need to come back and figure out how to stop this sinister plan by Apocalypse with a disease that was manufactured in a lab that was airborne and it was killing people. And they tried to blame it on mutants. So in the past, people interpreted this whole thing as like it was supposed to be their way of dealing with the AIDS epidemic. Now, dealing with the current pandemic that we've been dealing with for about 1.5 years to 2, it almost seems like a touch of predictive programming. Well, why do I say that? The reason I say that is because when I look at it, like I just mentioned, airborne. There's a lot of people that are skeptical about the root cause of where this virus came from. But like they mentioned in the cartoon, that it was airborne, and the way it's infecting the body, people are getting sick. They said that some people would get sick and then they would start to get better, which has been the case for most people with this whole situation. They're blaming the mutants for passing it on. There are people that say in reality with this pandemic that the unvaccinated, the ones that won't get jabbed, are the super spreaders, are the ones that's, most likely to catch it and, contaminate others because they won't get along with the program and get down with the shot. So I see a lot of parallels, but I find it interesting because these things were pointed out years ago. Like this episode is from the 93, 94 season. Like I said, this was season 2. So I'm watching this, and how good is this show to where it could be about 25 years into, or actually, what would that be, about 26, 27 years into the future, and sounds so similar to something that we're experiencing right now. That's how good the show is. It's standing the test of time. It's aging well, and even without them rebooting it, there's so many things that you can find within these older episodes. If you watch it on Disney Plus and you go through it again, that are going to still make you think. You're going to have those Arsenio Hall moments where things to make you go, I would say before they drop it, and you got a couple of years before they get into, I believe, what is this, their phase 5 slate of things to drop, to rewatch it, go over it again, enjoy the action, enjoy reintroducing yourself to the heroes, reintroducing yourself to the villains. They even had a hero that wasn't in the books. His name was Morph, and he got killed in the first episode. So that was pretty heavy. And from that point on, Wolverine just was in full berserker mode, berserker rage. He goes off and he loses his mind. It is like every fight was for, like, he was going for your head. Everything was for the vengeance of Morph. They killed Morph. He was angry with Cyclops. He felt like, how could Cyclops leave him on the battlefield when the Sentinels laid him down? A lot of inner turmoil within the team. You have love triangles with Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Wolverine. Feel bad for Wolverine because he was just getting strung along and played the whole time. It was really, really heavy. They dealt with so many topics. But the number one topic always, first and foremost, was about prejudice. So I want to another time really unpack the X-Men and the history of them and everything like that. But I really wanted to touch on it and really shed some light and bring a little shine to the X-Men series, because it really, really was an intelligent cartoon. It was ahead of its time. It was something that was really good for the kids. So I'm just wondering, are they going to keep with the tradition of that? And how far are they willing to take it? How many of these themes went over children's heads? Again, rewatching Time Fugitives, which was a really great 2-part series again. Back then, they thought it was AIDS. Now, dealing with what we've been dealing with, it feels a little bit more like Corona. But, leave it in the comments. Let me know. What do you see? What do you think of it? What were your favorite episodes? How did the TV back then compare to what's going on now? To where, shows now are being rebooted because maybe they're running out of ideas. just so much to unpack about it, so definitely wanted to go in, wanted to touch on that. Disney Plus 2021, this, they dropping a lot. They got a lot coming. We pretty much wrapped the first year of all of the Disney Plus shows. How did you enjoy them? From WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We had Loki. We had What If. We got What If Part 2 coming. Season 2, Loki Season 2, that's going to drop. So much content coming at us, so it's like making our head spin. So that's why I had to open up the show spinning my chair. So on that note, just wanted to open it up with a little bit of fun. I was Apocalypse. This is the Apocalypse. And just keep an eye out for all that good content. We're going to keep it coming to you. How we say, subscribe for the vibe. Like us if you like us. And X-Men, we out. Cool Geeks Tribunal, cups up. Peace.
Within us all live a Superman. Within our souls to survive. Don't you wish you were Superman?
I am as beyond them as they are beyond you.
Wait, I didn't even press record. Let me stop it.